Welcome to the first ever edition of Demolition TV. In the field of demolition training, AR Demolition has truly raised the bar. We attended their recent apprentice day to find out more.
As people in the industry know, we're big into our training. We have been since we got going, really. We've recognised that there is a shortage of skills in the industry, and even if people are skilled, do they work how we want them to work? It's almost becoming a brand the AR way, and it's very difficult to find, and it's very difficult to get people to buy into what we're trying to do. And we've sat down and looked at it, and we actually sat and looked at what we'd done in the past, but on a lot more unofficial basis, as in we have taken in blank sheets of paper and sat them on a machine and said this lever does that lever does that, work in that corner and do that, and they've shaped up to be the best operators we've got. We've bought 2 CAT 320 machines, but that's just the start of it. When we buy machinery, the important thing to us is the work tools. We've bought a full range of work tools, 2 selector grabs, 2 pulverisers, 1 scrap shear, 1 hammer, and we've got a magnet coming as well. So we've bought a full range of tools with the machines, all Caterpillar, and also we believe we're the first in the UK to buy Caterpillar's Auto Connect, which is the hitch type system that connects all the oil pipes, etc. as we're all used to seeing more commonplace in the industry now. CAT machinery is good machinery, we all know that. Why not? But the really attractive thing that CAT could offer us, and this is, we have certainly committed to oil quick, there's no doubt about it, but there's actually 2 reasons we've not gone with oil quick on these machines. One is it's CAT's own, the attachments are CAT's own, so if there's ever any warranty issues or anything like that, nobody can sit there and say it's him. So it's all a one-stop shop. So you know you're getting the right work tools married to the right machinery. In theory it should all be set up correctly. But the other thing, which has nothing to do with the product, is with these being apprentice machines, it's being a reasonable size organisation now, you know and I know, it'll be, we need a shear on that job, we've not got one, there's the one on the apprentice machine, go and get the shear off that. Bit of the reason of putting a different hitch on is so nobody can go and nick the attachments to use in other parts of the business away from the apprentices. I'm committed to these apprentices having the right kit and having it there all the time to sit and learn. And then once we get them going, they're just sticking them on a machine is only literally half of it really. Because the way we've done it is we've bought 2 machines, 2 sets of work tools, but we've also given every apprentice a van, and a new van, kitted out with tools and equipment. So what they're going to do is, the intake's 4 apprentices, it'll be 4 weeks on a machine, 4 weeks off. And the structure that we've designed and built for the 4 weeks off is going to include some classroom work on the simulator that we've got in-house. They're going to learn operators manuals, they're going to be tested on operators manuals, they're going to be learning guidance notes, tested on guidance notes. But then we're doing things like they're going to spend one of their 4-week periods with our mechanic, so doing some basic maintenance on machines. They're going to spend time with a low loader, so they understand what that's about. They'll spend time with the crushing team, understand what crushing's all about. So the theory is when they're not on the machine, they're going to learn bits about all the other parts of the business that they'll ultimately be involved in when they become a skilled operator. Traditionally it's put the apprentice on that beat-up machine and give them the oldest van. And I'm trying to flip it on its head. Whereas here's a brand new machine, here's a brand new van. Part of your job is to look after it. And if you don't, then I'm sorry, our apprenticeship's not for you. This is a colossal investment. I'm not shy about it. It's all by the shouting, it's a £500,000 investment. It's a huge investment, but I think that's exactly what it is an investment. It is annoying that you know we could make this investment and there's nothing to stop those members of staff going elsewhere, so the investment's in theory dead. I suppose ultimately we've got the responsibility to grow our own, and that's how I like doing it. I would like a bit more support with it because we're a tax-paying, levy-paying organisation. There are people committed to training. I don't think there's that many that are committed on the level that we are, so do people get a fair crack? To me, this is just the beginning of what I want to do. I've got a vision of bringing up and training through all disciplines, and I mean it on every level. You know, that's not just plant operatives, not just site managers, not just guys doing the, you know, the dirty end, the stripping out, that type of thing. We've got administration people, we've got surveyors, we've got estimators. The electronic era, as you've seen, we're doing the electronic method statements, animations, it's endless. You know, it's clever people in the industry. We've got to train them. What other industry can do what we do and do it so quick? It's a fast moving industry. But I have a vision of apprentices in every discipline in the business.
Next stop is Birmingham, where main contractor Carillion is so impressed by the work of DSM Demolition that they invited us to the Paradise site just to tell us about it.
It's a city centre redevelopment project. At the moment we are completing the demolition of the site and rerouting of highways so that when we get to the development phase the highway is more suitable for the development, which is going to be 10 new buildings over a 10-12 year period plus. So the sort of primary building to the site is the old central library, so a 40-year-old building sort of dominating the site, and that's being demolished along with the adjoining structures right down to Fletcher's Walk in the south of the site and up to the office that we're in, number 77 in the north. Because of the city centre location and the proximity of the neighbours, we've got many critical stakeholders. We've got a live hotel, we've got Birmingham Museum, we've got the Council House, the Town Hall, we've got Birmingham Conservatoire, all of which have got their own sort of set of criteria, and they've got their own concerns. Demolition on this scale on their doorstep has definitely been an issue to them, and it's been very challenging to come up with a demolition methodology that suits all parties, but it has been done very sensitively. DSM as our subcontractor are in regular communications with the site team, so as it would be on a normal site, sort of weekly meetings, but they've been a lot more proactive because this isn't a normal site. The project manager from DSM quite often supports me in my meetings with the strategic stakeholders, so the stakeholders that have those particular interests, namely BMAG, lots of concerns about dust and vibration, and then the conservatoire, which is more noise and vibration. But DSM and their project manager have been great. Their level of environmental monitoring, so for noise, dust and vibration around the whole site, has been really good. Numerous points around the job. You know, they're very much aware of the other factors, sort of prevailing wind, environmental factors, and they've been able to advise us and sort of lead us through it, and then we've been able to subsequently advise the stakeholders really well, provide them with enough information for them to feed back to sort of their people internally and make sure people are comfortable with what's going on. Paradise Circus is actually the central hub of the road network, so lots of the major roads, in fact all the major roads that lead into the city come to this point. We're at the end of Broad Street. We're on the A38. In fact, the A38 tunnel passes directly under the development. So not only do lots of vehicle and movements come into this area, but it's also a real key area in the city for pedestrian movement. It's sat in between New Street and New Street Station, but then to the other side of our development, Centenary Square, Brindley Place, Broad Street. So the migration of pedestrians between the New Street side and Centenary Square side, that's up to 1 million people a month passing through. So we've been very careful to manage that pedestrian movement during our demolition works. All those people used to pass through Paradise Forum, which is right in the centre of our demolition area. So a lot of careful planning and working out how we could keep that amount of people moving and moving safely meant the modification of Fletcher's Walk, which ultimately is demolished in the second phase, and then the improvements of Easy Row, which effectively reroutes pedestrians from by the town hall through Fletcher's up Easy Row and back onto Centenary and back onto a more typical pedestrian route. We're looking for them to stick to the plan. It's very important with a project like this that they produce a sound methodology and a safe methodology, one that's been signed off, suitably risk assessed, all the environmental impacts considered and then communicated. And that's really the difference here, is the communication level. When we put a plan together, we communicate that not only internally, but it goes out to the stakeholders and to wider Birmingham. And if they stick to what we've said that we're going to do, that represents a good day. They are, and they have been, extremely sensitive to the stakeholders and extended them the courtesy, whilst still getting the job done. It's a difficult job involving some big bits of plant, but they've done very well so far.
Downwell Demolition has a new home. We popped along to help with the housewarming. Downwell Demolition has relocated to a new headquarters and workshop facility just up the road from the Dartford crossing. We caught up with Matt Phillips, Managing Director, to find out about the relocation and to see where Downwell Demolition is going in the future.
Why did I move? This yard came up and I found it sort of through a friend of a friend, and it sort of ticks every box. Location, obviously, right beside the Dartford Bridge, you'll probably see. So I'm a few moments from the A13, straight down into London on the A13 or onto the M25 and wherever you want to go from here. I've got the yard and workshops next door with over gantry cranes so we can move attachments around. It sort of ticked every box really. Right location, right building, right offices. Well, I've refurbed all the offices to house pretty much most of my admin office staff. Decent fitters don't want to be laying in puddles fixing machines. They want the right facilities to work in, which I think they've got now. You know, I'm chasing everyone's heels. I don't claim to be as good or worse than any of them, but we're pretty non-contractual. You know, with our clients, we'll work with them, and we'll find a solution to help them. And we're only at the end of a phone or at the end of an email, and we will, for the right clients and the right clients we have got or future right clients, we'll go the extra mile to help them. 6, 8, 10 years ago, would we be competent to do some of the jobs we're doing now? Maybe, but only maybe. But now with a few years gone by and a bit more experience and a few more people with the amount of knowledge they've got, there isn't really anything we can't do. Got I think a pretty good reputation now. I think we'd be considered by any client a competent contractor, you know, and to be able to run with the type of people that we've mentioned before that are local to us. It's an inherently dangerous business, you know. You've got to be awake all the time, you know. There's always a new legislation or there's a new criteria or a new system or a new ticket or a new card in place. And you know, and I've maybe been a little bit a victim of our own success as well. We've got a lot of machinery, a lot of employees, so we need a lot of work. You know, we've got a training matrix here that will let us know when anyone's tickets are coming up for renewal, and we try and get it done in plenty of advance so that no one's left without a ticket. I want to try and polish the firm and keep growing the firm. Just make sure everyone's got a good living, and I get a good living from it, and hopefully everyone goes home safe and happy.
We were lucky enough to attend the recent Bellmer Exhibition, and one of the most notable machines we saw there was the Liebherr 950 Demolition excavator. We all know who you call when there's something strange in your neighbourhood, but who do you call when explosives and wire ropes fail to bring down a pair of tower blocks? Well, apparently it's C&D Consultancy.
I got an initial phone call late on Sunday afternoon by Jay Bryant's contracts manager to say that both towers had stood up. I was away in Hull at the time, working on a job over in Hull. So Sunday afternoon, a little bit surprised to get the phone call, and then they asked me could I give them some help immediately. Unfortunately, I couldn't, but I said I'd speak to them first thing tomorrow, Monday morning, and try and organise something on there. So Sunday afternoon, I got the phone call from Jay Bryant.
Mike forwarded the message over to me, I think it was late Sunday night, saying that I need to be in early into the office on Monday. There was a 0600 start, and we started preparing the method statements to satisfy the HSE and Jay Bryant.
One of the reasons why they called us is that we've got a large knowledge of explosive demolition. We've done, as you know, 15 explosive demolitions over the last year. Also, we've got a knowledge of high reach and how a high reach can be brought in to bring a building down. So with that knowledge, with our experience there, with our team, we had 2 demolition engineers and a student demolition engineer on there. We thought we could do we could get the building down for them.
I think it's my 4th explosive job that I've worked on, and the second one which hadn't fully come down. But no contingency measures that were put in place. Once we got there, I thought very professional. I got a very good experience right out of the job.
We've got a number of issues. One of the main issues was the fact that it's been explosively charged. The charges supposedly had gone off. It's been massively pre-weakened, and also Jay Bryant had tried to laterally pull it down with a wire rope. So we've got a real issue of of how we're going to get this building down after all those challenges. Would the building collapse at any minute? Is it unexploded charges or detonators that are left in the building? And effectively, how are we going to get this building down safely with people and houses literally very, very close to the tower block? We talk about allaying fears. What is our allaying fears? One is what is the general public? How can we allay the fear of the general public from the building collapsing? How can we get the building down? And how can we ultimately make sure everything that we do is safe? And that's our role, to ensure that we put in place the years of experience that we've got to ensure that it's going to be safely brought down. So one of the things that we do is we shorten the exclusion zone, so some people could get back into the houses, and then we put together a method statements and methodology to ensure, in conjunction with the HSC, how he's going to bring this building down. Initially, during the week, we got some laser monitoring on the building to see if it was still plumb, to see if it was perfectly vertical. It had not moved out of plumb and on a vertical position. So we knew it was, we've got some stability. Thankfully, we've got some stability within the building. We then looked at the blast floors, how the blast and how the floors possibly going to be affecting the building. And also we've looked about where we can site the machine, because obviously we've now got to bring it down conventionally with a high reach. So obviously Technical Demolition's brought their machine down from Glasgow. We've now got 4 days of planning to see where we can put the machine, how it's going to be done, and how hopefully, and at this point it's hopefully how the building's going to react. We can't go inside the building. We can only take it from photographic or lenses, and we get a lot of high-powered sort of photographic equipment where we're looking to see how the building's cracked or moved. Fortunately, we couldn't see any cracks, and the pre-weakening and the explosive demolition had not done a great deal in terms of moving the building. What C&D in conjunction with TDS done is that we've now got to have a method statement. So the team Friday afternoon, prior to commencement on the Saturday morning, had done 2 to 3 days of planning. We've now submitted our method statements in conjunction with Jay Bryant to the HSC. Got approved on Friday morning with some caveats. We changed some methodologies to help them understand how we were going to do it. And then we submitted this to TDS and their drivers late on Friday afternoon. We then done a series of toolbox talks. We had a walkthrough. And then we decided the best methodology of how we're going to get this building down over a period of, say, 3 or 4 days of planning, and the time specifically with TDS's drivers. The key to high reach demolition, especially on the challenges that we've got here, is communication. So communication with us. We've brought in an experienced structural engineer, and the drivers. So the structural engineers, C&D, and the TDS drivers are all on radio communication. We're working together to understand how this building moves. Obviously, to allay the fears of the general public and the press, they're looking to us to see where we are and how we're going to carry out this work. So we're dealing with the client, which was a housing association. We're dealing with the press, because fortunately at that time the press were well aware of what was going on. So to give them some knowledge and some comfort that the work was being carried out and it was going to be completed shortly, we dealt with the press, we dealt with the HSC, and we dealt with the local housing association. We were doing a 4:30 start to ensure that we're ready to start, and we would work till 8-9 o'clock at night to do paper, because the HSC wanted a diary. So once we'd finished the work, once sort of 6 or 7 o'clock finished and the machine stopped, we had to diarise what we were doing, and we had to send that on to them. So we had to make sure that all the information there, and we had to redo the method statement for the next day.
You'd be surprised how many bodies are actually involved. I mean, there's about 7-8 parties involved in each emergency demolition: the fire brigade, the police, the HSC. There's a lot of parties involved in each demolition. Meetings are crucial. We really update each situation day, that I keep a diary, that the methodology is constantly updated, that basically senior roles take command.
Between the three of us, including TDS and Jay Bryant, we produced the method statement. We got it passed off and approved by the HSC, which is difficult. And then we got it back in, and then we then produced a toolbox talk and a series of sort of diagrams with the drivers.
We really hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll share it with your friends and colleagues throughout the industry. If you'd like to be featured in a future edition, please get in touch. But until then, work safe, home safe every day. And thanks for watching.